This is the run-through video for B1C1P1 Foundation Past Paper 4. Please remember that at the front of your exam you always have this equations list, particularly important for the physics section, because for a lot of questions all you need to do is look up the correct equation and then just plug in the numbers. For the first section is the biology section. So first question, malaria is a disease caused by a pathogen. The pathogen gets into a person when they are bitten by a mosquito. Which type of pathogen causes malaria? So malaria is a protozoa. So if you circle that, you can give yourself the mark. Next question, the map shows the areas where mosquitoes that spread malaria live. It also shows other areas where these mosquitoes may be able to live if the world's climate gets warmer. And there's a key, so the slightly shaded areas are where mosquitoes live now, and the darker areas are where mosquitoes may also be able to live if the world's climate gets warmer. So it asks, describe how the distribution of malaria might change if the world gets warmer. So there's 2 marks for this, so you must make 2 points. So if you just put that more areas will have malaria cases, because there are more mosquitoes in other places. So remember, mosquitoes spread malaria. So if you just put that there'll be more malaria cases, that gets you 1 mark. But if you put something like that there's areas further away from the equator that will have malaria cases, that's also gets you a mark as well. So just saying that more people will get malaria will get you a mark, and the second mark is for saying that the further away, if the world gets warmer, then areas further away from the equator will also get malaria cases. The next question says, this headline appears in a recent newspaper. Scientists have produced the injection that may protect people against malaria parasite. Write down the name of the injection that protects people from a specific pathogen. So there's 2 options for this, either vaccination, or you could have put immunisation. Either of those would have got you the mark. If you put vaccine as well, that will get you a mark as well. Next question, Conus magus is a large tropical sea snail. The sea snail feeds on fish. When the snail detects a fish, it fires a hook into it. What word is used to describe the fish in this action? Choose your answer from this list. So there's a list, and the answer is stimulus. So you got stimulus, then gets your mark. The hook contains a chemical which slows down the movement of the fish. Which type of chemical is most likely to have this effect? Choose your answer. And so the one that's most likely to slow down the movement is the depressant. Remember, hallucinogen makes you kind of see things. Performance enhancer would make the fish go faster, if you like, and a stimulant would also do the same. So depressant would slow down the movement of the fish. And the scientists are investigating the chemical produced by the snail. They think that it could be used as a painkiller in humans. Explain why the drug would have to be tested before it is used on people. So there are 2 marks here, and there are 3 different things you could say. So you could, the first mark you could say is just to see if it works or to see if it reduces pain. You could say to see if it's safe for a second mark, and you could also see to look for side effects or to make sure it's not harmful. Any of those for the second mark, or for a mark you could say to work out what the best dosage would be. Next question, Linda has a mass of 60 kilograms. She wants to find out if she's eaten the correct amount of protein. She starts to work out the protein content of the food she eats in 1 day. And there they are. It says, is Linda eating the correct amount of protein? It says, complete the table first. So the place you got to complete the table is here. So this is the mass eaten in grams, and this is the protein content per 100 grams. You can see that she's eaten 200 grams of baked potato, and there are 2 grams of protein per 100. So all you've got to do is times that by 2, and it gives you 4. And then the next part of the question says, Linda eating the correct amount of protein. Well, you've got to add all this. Oh, there's another bit. Sorry, I've missed out the vegetables bit. So there, you've eaten 50 grams, and it's 0.8 per 100. So she's eaten half of 100, so you'll get half of 0.8 in the table. Then we've got to add it all up. So it adds up to 51. And then complete the table and calculate Linda's estimated average daily requirement, and to help explain your answer. So it tells you that she weighs 60 grams, and it says down here that her EAR, which is her average daily requirement, is 0.6 times her body mass. So that's going to be 0.6 times 60, which equals 36 grams. So you can see that she is eating more than enough protein. So you can say, yes, she is getting more than enough. But if you said no because she's eating too much, that would also get you a mark as well. So you get a mark for working out both of these, you get a mark for the total, and you get a mark for either saying, so you get a mark for 36, sorry, you get a mark for saying either no because she's eating too much, or yes because she's eating more than enough. Linda is 20 years old, her cousin Sue is 13 years old and has the same mass as Linda, suggests why Sue needs more protein. So that's just that she is growing, or growing more, or growing faster, or just growing. If you just put that, that would also get the mark. 3 of Linda's friends do not eat meat, suggest how these friends can still achieve a balanced diet. So the first mark of these two is just saying that she needs to get an alternative supply of protein. So needs to find another supply of protein. And then the second mark is suggesting something she could eat. Something that her friends could eat to get that protein. So there's a long list, so anything like milk, cheese, eggs, tofu, beans, pulses, nuts, lentils, corn, avocado, broccoli, spinach, peas, asparagus, any of those. Protein shakes and protein drinks would also get you a mark. Any of those would get you that second mark. Next question. Sweat glands in the skin release sweat. Why does the body release sweat? So that's just the answer is just to keep cool or to lose heat. Next question. Some people sweat too much. This is called hyperhidrosis. Scientists have discovered that this is a genetic disorder. Gemma's cells contain the gene that causes hyperhidrosis right about where in cells genes are found. So there's 2 marks here. So 1 mark, there's 3 different answers you could put. So any 2 of these, you could say in the nucleus, you could say in the chromosomes, and you could say in the DNA. Any 2 of those 3 will get you those 2 marks. It says Gemma cannot pass on hyperhidrosis to her friends. Explain why. So you've got 2 marks here. So the first mark is just saying that it's not infectious, or it's not contagious, or it can't be caught. And then the second mark is saying that it's caused by a gene, and therefore it's inherited. So if you put it's inherited, that's your second mark, or caused by a gene. That could also be your second mark. This next question is a 6-mark question. What I'd like you to do is try and mark this yourself using the mark scheme online. If you need help, then please ask your teacher to check whether you've marked it correctly after you've done so. Next question. Clean air is a mixture of gases. So we're on to the chemistry section now. These gases include nitrogen, oxygen and carbon dioxide. The percentages of these gases do not vary much. This is because photosynthesis and respiration happen. To complete the sentences about photosynthesis and respiration, choose words on the list. So photosynthesis increases the percentage of, photosynthesis gives out oxygen, so the answer is oxygen there, and decreases the percentage of carbon dioxide. So photosynthesis takes in carbon dioxide and gives out oxygen. So that'll give it your first mark. And then respiration, it says something, the percentage of carbon dioxide, so that increases carbon dioxide and decreases oxygen. Remember, respiration takes in oxygen and gives out carbon dioxide. They're kind of opposite processes. Next question. Carbon monoxide is a pollutant sometimes found in air. Write about a source of carbon monoxide pollution and a problem caused by carbon monoxide. So, incomplete combustion is the source, and the problem is that it's poisonous or it's toxic. You can't say harmful, you have to say how it's harmful. So poisonous or toxic are the 2 specific words you can use for that second mark. Okay. Air quality in the UK has improved over the last 60 years. In December 1952, air pollution was so bad in London that sometimes people could not see their own feet. Look at the graph, it shows the number of deaths each day in London between the 3rd of December and the 15th of December in 1952. There it is. It says, describe the relationship between the number of deaths and the concentrations of smoke and sulfur dioxide. So there's 2 marks here, one for comparing the smoke with the number of deaths, and one for comparing the sulfur dioxide with the number of deaths. As you can see, we'll start with smoke. As the smoke increases, so do the deaths. So that's your first mark, saying something like, as the smoke increases, so do the deaths, or as the smoke increases, the number of deaths increases, something like that. And the second mark is saying, as the sulfur dioxide increases, so do the deaths, or as the sulfur dioxide increases, the number of deaths increases. So your 2 marks there are for comparing the 2 different things. Catalytic converters are fitted in cars to help reduce air pollution. Write down a pollutant removed by catalytic converters. So this is either carbon monoxide or nitrogen monoxide. So, next question, looking at a few formulae. So, look at the displayed formulas of some compounds. Write down a compound that is a hydrocarbons. Remember, hydrocarbons are only made of hydrogen and carbon. So, you can either have A or D there, because all the others, compound B contains oxygen, compound C contains oxygen, compound F contains oxygen, and compound E contains chlorine. So, only things that contain only carbon and hydrogen, C or H, are hydrocarbons. Then it says, look at the displayed formula for compound B. How many different elements are there? So the elements are a number of different symbols. So there is a C, an O, and an H. So there are 3 elements in compound B. And then compound F is a polymer called polychloroethene. Write down the name of the monomer that polychloroethene is made from. So to work out the monomer, all you have to do is take out the poly from there. So the name of the monomer is chloroethene. Different polymers have different properties. The uses of a polymer depend on its properties. Look at the table, it compares the properties of 3 polymers, A, B and C. So there's a few different properties there. Density, maximum usable temperature in Celsius, so how high a temperature you can use it at, the strength, and relative flexibility. So which polymer would you choose to make outdoor garden furniture? And it says the polymer and then explain your choice. So you get 1 mark for choosing the right one. So you don't want it to be flexible, because if you sat in it and it was flexible, then it would fall over. So you want it to be stiff, you want it to be strong, and that's essentially the 2 things you need it to be, stiff and strong. So polymer B is the one you should have chosen, and your reasons is it is stiff and it is stronger or strongest than the others. So those are your 3 marks. 1 for B, 1 for that, and 1 for that. Chemicals called esters can be used to make perfumes, or can be used as solvents. Perfumes have a nice smell. Perfumes must be insoluble in water, so they do not wash off easily. Write down 2 other properties that perfumes must have. So it hasn't said to explain them, you just got to write down 2 different ones. So any 2 of these 4, because there are 2 marks, so you could say it needs to evaporate easily, you could say it needs to be non-toxic or not poisonous, you say it does not react with water and does not irritate the skin. Any 2 of those 4 will get you those 2 marks. If you just got 1 of them, then that will get you 1 mark. Perfumes must be tested before they can be sold. In the past, perfumes were tested on animals. Testing on animals is now banned in the UK. Write about different views that people have about testing perfumes on animals. So 2 marks, 1 for a positive view and 1 for a negative view. So any 2 of these would get you the 2 marks. You could say that animals may be harmed or it is cruel. You could say that animals have no control over what happens to them, and that's why people might object to it. You could say that people think there are other ways of testing products. You could say that animals might react differently to humans, i.e. their skin is different, so they may react differently. And then you could also say that people say they feel safer if the perfumes have been tested on animals first. And you could say people say animals should be used because animals' reaction closely mimics the reaction to humans. So you could say that animal reactions would be the same as a human. So any 2 of those would be fine. Sarah investigates 4 different solvents. She wants to know how well they remove a stain. Look at her results. There they are. Which solvent is best at removing the stain? So the one that's best at removing the stain will be the one that has the highest percentages at both temperatures, because it's a percentage of the stain that's been removed. So the one that is the best is C. And then Sarah decides that solvents work better at a higher temperature. How can you tell? And that's because at a higher temperature, each of the solvents removes a higher percentage of the stain. So a higher percentage of the stain is removed. Now this next question is a 6-mark question. Because there are so many different things you could be writing, it would take me too long to go through the mark scheme for a 6-mark question, so please can you mark this yourself using the mark scheme that you can find online on the Google site that is written on your poster. and then if you ask your teacher, then they will check it for you just to make sure you've marked it correctly. Now on to the physics section. So Alan wants to reduce energy losses from his house. He asks an energy advisor for help. The advisor uses thermal imaging camera to produce a photograph of the house. It is used to indicate where heat energy is lost from the house. The advisor writes a report for Alan. He includes a black and white photocopy of the original photograph in his report. There it is. Complete the sentences about the original photograph. The temperature is represented by different... So this first mark is for saying that the temperature is represented by different colours. Remember that blue and purple represent cold areas, or the areas that aren't losing heat, and red and white and yellow areas show areas that are losing heat and therefore are hotter. And this is known as a thermogram. The advisor's report has a diagram which shows where some of the energy is lost. Energy-saving methods are used to reduce energy losses from the houses. Many of these methods use air to reduce energy loss. Describe the energy-saving methods that could reduce energy losses from Alan's house using air, and explain how air is important. So this is a 3-mark question. So the first 2 marks are giving 2 different types of insulation that uses air to reduce energy loss. So double glazing, you could say carpets, you could say curtains, you could say cavity wall insulation, you could say loft insulation, or insulation above the ceiling. Any 2 of those. And then the second mark is for saying why air. Third mark is saying that why air is reduced energy loss, and it's because air is a good insulator. So that's your third mark. The energy advisor suggests that Alan replaces his old central heating boiler. The Sankey diagram shows energy data for Alan's boiler. There it is. Calculate the efficiency of Alan's boiler and give your answer as a percentage. So the efficiency is the amount of useful energy divided by the total energy given in, times by 100. First thing you've got to do is work out the amount of useful energy that's being given, and then that you can do by using the wasted energy. So remember, the wasted energy plus useful energy equals the total energy. So you're going to do 10,000, take away 3,000, and that will give you the useful energy, which is 7,000. Then you can work it out. So 7,000 divided by 10,000 times by 100, and that will give you 70%. If you just wrote 70%, that will get you all 3 marks, even if you didn't put the working. And the advisor tells Alan that his boiler is in a low efficiency band. Is the energy advisor correct? So 70 would put them into band F. So if you put yes, that doesn't get you a mark. The mark is for the explanation. And if you just say it's in the second worst or the bottom 2 or one of the worst efficiency bands, that would get you that mark. So this is the physics 6-mark question, so please use the mark scheme online to mark this yourself, or ask your teacher to help you. So microwaves are used for mobile phone messages. Damien is worried about his daughter Susie using her mobile phone. Damien and Susie each make a statement about using mobile phones. Damien says, I think that using mobile phones is harmful, they cause some types of cancer. And Susie says, results of a study that ran for a number of years as were published in 2011, it showed no clear link between using mobile phones and increased cancer risk. One of these statements is based on scientific evidence, the other statement is not. And it says explain why. So there are 2 marks for this. So any 2 of these things you could have said. You could say that Damien's comments are an opinion, or just an idea, or there's no evidence given. That'll give you a mark. You get a mark for saying that Susie's is based on evidence or gives data. You could say that Damien's claim needs evidence or research. You could say there's a long-term study for Susie's claim, so the evidence must be reliable. And you could also say that recent study for Susie's claim, so using modern phones could be safer. So the idea that it's a modern thing. So the 2 that you probably put would be that Damien's is just an opinion and Susie's is based on evidence or gives data. Those are the 2 that I'd be looking for there. Layla heats a beaker containing a liquid and records its temperature. Look at the graph of the results. There it is. Layla concludes that the liquid boiled during the experiment. How does the graph show this? So remember that during a change in state, from gas to liquid or liquid to solid, the temperature of the substance does not change. The fact you've got a straight line here means it must be changing state. So the mark is for saying that the temperature stays constant after 300 seconds or 5 minutes. You could also say just near the end. If you said there's a flat line, that would also be fine. If you put a straight line, that's not correct because this is also straight there. It's just going in a different direction. If you said it's a flat line, then that's fine. What is the boiling point of the liquid? Well, it's boiling at, if you read across the graph, at 106. So wherever the flat line is, that's your boiling point, so 106. Next question. Rita is learning about different types of waves. Electromagnetic waves are used for communication. Infrared waves can transmit signals from one end of a fibre optic cable to the other. How does the infrared signal pass from one end of the cable to the other? So there's 2 marks here. 1 mark for saying reflection, and then saying what it's reflecting off, so off sides of a cable. If you said total internal reflection or TIR, that'll get you both marks without having to put anything else. Because that's essentially what this is. Total internal reflection is where it's reflecting off the sides of the cable and going all the way down it. Infrared radiation can also be used for cooking. Write down one other use of infrared radiation. So any one of these, you could say remote controls, you could say links between computers or printers or mobile phones, you could say motion sensors, you could say infrared cameras, or just cameras. You could say telescopes that detect heat. You could say infrared telescopes. You could say lasers. You could say TV or DVDs or garage doors or car locks. Any of those will get you that mark. Then next question. A cable is not always needed for communications. Write down one advantage of not needing a cable for a device used for communications. So this is the idea that you can use it when it's on the move, or you could say it's portable. Or you could say there's no direct connection to the phone line or socket that's needed. So you could say you can use it wherever you are. So any of those will get you that 1 mark. And then last question. There are 2 types of signals used for transmission. These types of signals are analog and digital. Rita draws this diagram of one type of signal. Explain which type of signal Rita's diagram shows and why it's not the other type. So the first marker is saying that's a digital signal. The reason we know is because digital signals can either be on or off. There's no in between, and so when it's up here it's on, when it's down here it's off, and that will get you the 2nd mark. Just saying that it's a series of on or offs or 1 or 0s if you've learned it that way, or high and lows. You could say, if you wanted to, that it's not analog because analog can be any value. So if you went the other way round there, that would also get you those 2 marks. So make sure you add up your marks, write it on your poster, and then do the next paper, please, and see if you can get a higher score.